Okay, so in today's session, we are going to start with the uh, practical, where we are going to learn about the service of the whiskey, where we are going to learn all the aspects, a very fine details in step-by-step process in regard to the service of whiskey. Before we actually begin with the service of whiskey, we must know exactly what the whiskey is all about. Whenever you are defining the whiskey, you will have to basically include two terms while defining it. The one term will be the fermentation, and the second term will be the distillation. So, while defining exactly technically what the whiskey is all about, you will have to use these two terms. One, again, I'm repeating, is known as the fermentation, and the second is the distillation. So, how come, or what would be the definition of whiskey then? The definition of an whiskey will be: whiskey is an alcoholic beverage which can be obtained from any type of cereals. Generally, if we talk about, we generally use barley. We can also use corn. We can also use maize. We can also use rye, or we can also use the combination of these cereals. So, first of all, the extract or the liquid form of all these particular cereals, or maybe the sugar which is present in all these cereals, are basically fermented in order to get the alcohol. Then the percentage of that particular alcohol is increased by the method of distillation. So basically, the whiskey is an alcoholic drink which is obtained from the cereals. There could be different varieties of the cereals that can be used. The sugar content of that particular cereals is basically fermented first, and then it is supposed to be distilled. And in most of the cases, if you have been talking about the whiskey, which are generally expensive, they are further being matured or aged also. So we are not going to get into the detail of whole production or the manufacturing part, because in today's practicals we are just going to focus on its service part. And while explaining you the whole service part step by step, try to focus on all the aspects. You'll not have to miss even a single particular aspects or single particular step while I've been trying to explain you each and every step which would be related to the service of whiskey. So yes, as one of the candidate have said, like, the whiskey is basically originated from Scotland. Basically, it is the Scotland or the Scotch whiskey which is to be considered as one of the finest quality of whiskey. So the finest quality of whiskey is basically produced in the Scotland only. There is one more term which is also asked during the interview. That particular term is define or what is single malt whiskey. Single malt. There are two terms associated with it. Single means it is made in the single distillery only. It is made in the one distillery only. And malt means it is made from the malted barley only. So there is only one cereal which is used, that is the barley. And that barley will not be used in the raw form. It should be the malted. Malted means first the barley is supposed to be germinated, where it is called green malt. Then it is roasted over the kiln. After the roasting, it would be called as malted barley. So any kind of a whiskey which is manufactured in single distillery by using the malted barley only. No other cereals are used. Not even the combination of malted and unmalted barley. Only malted barley. And when we talk about the malted barley, it means the fermented and the roasted barley. Fine.
Excuse me,
Apart
sir.
from that,
Excuse me, sir, please.
yes, Arjun.
Sir, there are three procedures in terms of malted barley: germination, fermentation, and then roasting.
No, no.
Two.
Fermentation will not come. So here,
Germination and only roasting.
yes. So here we are not going to get into the detailed part of all the manufacturing and all that process, because that particular part has already been covered by Valia ma'am. So here we are just focusing on the service part. So let me to share the screen. As just now we have discussed in today's practical, we are going to learn about the service of whiskey. Under the service of whiskey, just now we have talked about the definition of in whiskey and what are the two aspects or what are the two basic things we'll have to consider while explaining it. Second, we have also discussed about the meaning of single malt. So here our focus will be altogether related to its service part only. So try to focus on each and every particular slide. So in the first case, we know very well. First of all, you will have to take the order from the guest. And in order to get the order from the guest, we will have to present the beverage menu card from right hand side of the guest. While presenting the beverage menu card, as you can see, the server is going to hold that beverage menu card by using his one right hand only. And he has been presenting that beverage menu card from right hand side of the guest. So this will be the first step. Once the beverage menu card has been presented to the guest, then at least for some time we will have to keep the guest alone. We will have to give some time to the guest so that the guest meanwhile can decide exactly which all the drinks the guest wants to have. Once the guest is looking at you, automatically by anticipating the guest needs, you will have to approach to the guest while for taking the order. While taking the orders, very important is you will have to take out your scribbling pad and you will have to take out your pen and you will have to focus on what exactly the guest has been ordering. While the guest has been ordering the whiskey, maybe the guest can ask any suggestion from your end also. So you will have to do the proper suggestions while taking down the order of the whiskey. Whenever you take the order of the whiskey or any kind of a drink, it is advisable to ask from the guest exactly the guest wants that particular whiskey with which type of chaser. What is basically the meaning of chaser? Chaser is basically the English term which means you are approaching towards to something or you are following something. But
इसका
here
तो चूज करना
you are following something. But here, if we have been talking about the chaser in terms of an whiskey or any kind of a drink, so here in case of an whiskey, the soda can be considered as chaser, the coke can be considered as chaser, the water can be considered as chaser, the ice can be considered as chaser. So whenever you are taking down the order of the whiskey, side by side, you also will have to ask from the guest, Sir, would you like to have whiskey with soda, water, or ice? And whatever the preference the guest is going to express in front of you, while bringing the whiskey, you will have to keep that particular point in your mind.
सर
And
सॉरी सर
yes,
सर सर तुषार की शूट कर रहा सर मैं मैसेज कर
okay,
रहा है
okay. So while taking the order of the whiskey, there is one more thing. While taking the order of the whiskey, there is very important aspect. There is one more thing you will have to consider is along with the order of the whiskey, you will also have to suggest some starter to the guest. Like don't just take the order of the beverage. While taking the order of the beverage, do suggest some starter to the guest. Right. So you are going to take the order of the whiskey and you will have to suggest some brand names of the whiskey to the guest. While taking the order of the whiskey, you are going to ask for the preference of the chaser. How come? You will have to say to the guest, sir, would you like to have whiskey with soda water or ice? Clear? And once you have taken the order of the whiskey side by side, you will also have to ask from the guest, sir, would you like to have the whiskey with any starter? And in our training restaurants, we are having so and so starters. Like you can say that, sir, we are having the fish and chips, we are having the fish fingers, we are having the cheese fingers, we are having the Pom's croquettes. Sir, we are having the chicken tikka, murmalai tikka, haryali kebab, hara bhara kebab, like haryali paneer, achari paneer, like this. So there could be a number of starters according to whatever your restaurant has been served. If the guest is placing that order of the starter, then it is fine. Otherwise, whenever you will actually work in the hotel industry, every hotels, depending upon the policy of that particular organizations, they would be serving one type or the other type of the complimentary starter. So now we assume like the server or the steward has taken the order of the whiskey, and maybe the guest is not ready to place an order for the starter. So maybe in today's practicals, the service of the whiskey will be done along with the complimentary starter only. Now, as you know, the next step after taking the order will be you will have to generate the KOT, or in case of a beverage it is called BOT. KOT stands for kitchen order ticket, BOT stands for beverage order ticket. So here basically the order is related to the beverage only. So that's why the steward will have to go to his own system. System means talking about the computer system only. And by using that particular computer system, the steward will have to place the order of the whiskey. And while placing the order, it is the responsibility of the steward to modify that order and write down the chaser also. Like if the guest has placed an order for Shivas Regal, so the steward will have to place an order for Shivas Regal, 18 years old, one peg only with soda water. Then automatically the beverage order ticket, the printed form of the order will be generated inside the bar, and the bartender will the bartender will take out the print of that particular order, and the bartender will see on that particular order exactly which type of a whiskey the guest wants to have, along with that particular whiskey, but all the different chasers. Like if I've been talking about the soda water ice, so which particular type of the chaser the guest wants to have. So according to that, your bartender is going to deliver those things along with the whiskey. Now, once the order has been placed in the form of the BOT, the next step is the steward will have to keep his mesa ready. And here in case of a mesa, the steward will have to pick the salver. Here you can see in front of you, the salver has to be placed on your left hand. Once the steward has taken the clean salver, then the next step will be to cover the salver. There are basically three things by which the salver can be covered. You can cover the salver by using the, you can say that the paper cover also, which is salver cover, which is basically made up of paper. You can cover the salver by using the salver cloth also, which is basically round in shape. Generally, what is the difference between the salver and the tray is, generally the salver will be a kind of a tray which is round in shape. Whereas if you just talk about the tray, it can be square in shape also, but generally it can be rectangular in shape. So the steward will have to cover the salver either by using the salver paper, which is basically round in shape, or by using the salver cloth, which will also be round in shape. Or the steward can cover the salver by using the waiter's cloth, because generally the waiter's cloth always remains in the hand of the steward. or remain in the hand of the server. So now, as you can see in front of your screen, the salver has to be covered with the salver cloth. Next, as we know, the order has been given by the guest and the guest has not placed any separate order for the starter. But as just now I have discussed, like depending upon the policy of the hotels, most of the hotels prefer to serve or to give a complimentary starters along with any drinks. So here also we have been considering the complimentary starters to be a kind of an peanuts, roasted peanuts, or maybe it could be a kind of roasted cashew nut also, depending upon the policy of the hotel to hotel. So before actually the service of the whiskey has to be done, the steward will have to place the starter, that is the complimentary starters. Here the complimentary starter is supposed to be fried peanuts or maybe the salted peanuts. So he will have to carry the salted peanuts in monkey dish. Under that particular monkey dish, it is the doily paper, a teaspoon and saucer as underlined. So if you will see, there are 4 to 5 things. One is the steward is carrying the salver. Along with that, he is having the waiter's cloth. He is having the monkey dish with the, you can say that the salted peanuts, and he would be having the teaspoon in order to have that salted peanuts. In between the monkey dish and the saucer, there is a doily paper. Now just see how the steward has positioned himself. If you will see in this particular picture, you are finding the salver of which is basically carried by the server is away from the guest. So salver should always be keep away from the guest. And as we see, it is pre-plated. So pre-plated service should be done from right hand side. So along with the starter or complimentary starter, the steward is standing just right hand side of the guest because it is pre-plated. And the direction of the salver will be such like that it should always remain away from the guest. And generally it always remains behind the back seat of the guest. Now the steward is placing the salted peanuts from the right hand side of the guest, and he is placing this particular complimentary starters at the center of the table next to the cruet set. So in between there is a bud vase, next to it there is a cruet set. On the right hand side of yours you can see there is ashtray. So next to it at the center, the steward is placing the complimentary starter. And see how he has been placing the complimentary starter. While placing the complimentary starter, if you will see the direction of the teaspoon, the direction is of the teaspoon is towards to the guest only, towards to the main guest. And this particular starters will not have to place at any like part of the table. It has to be placed at the center of the table. Now, as you can see, now the steward has approached to the bar. Why the steward has approached to the bar? In order to get the drink. And while getting the drink, the steward is carrying the salver along with the waiter's cloth. And in front of you, you can see bartender is there. And bartender is pouring the whiskey. And he will pour the whiskey of 1 peg only. 1 peg means 30 ml. And while pouring that particular whiskey on the glass, in the glass, he will have to show the label so that even if the guest has been sitting slightly far away from the bar, he can easily be able to see exactly the steward or the bartender has been pouring the right brand which is actually being asked by the guest. So whenever you are pouring the alcohol, it has to be measured properly because alcohols are very much expensive. Now the steward has poured the 30 ml of whiskey in old-fashioned glass. The name of the glass which is generally used in order to serve the whiskey will be old-fashioned glass. As far as its quantity is concerned, it is 12 fluid ounce. 12 fluid ounce is approximately equal to 360 ml. Now, the steward has not only given the one peg of an whiskey, the bartender has not only given the one peg of an whiskey in old-fashioned glass, along with that, he has also given a stirrer. Stirrer would be a kind of a small plastic kind of a stick, which is generally used by the guest in order to stir the whiskey. Then, according to the preference of the guest, maybe in this particular scenario, we are considering the guest is going to have the whiskey with soda, water, and ice. So he is going to pour the water first in the decanter. So this glass is decanter. So he is also giving, the bartender is also giving the water to the server in decanter. And in one decanter, the bartender is giving the water. In another decanter, the bartender is giving the soda. Whenever you are giving the soda, always try to make your level best to open the new bottle only. And the bartender is also giving the ice in ice bucket along with the ice top.
Sir, one question.
Now, the
मेरा
steward.
क्वेश्चन है सर.
Sir, one question.
Yes, let me to finish it all. After that, you can ask
Okay,
the
okay, sir.
question.
Okay,
So
sure.
now you can see in front of you a salver is there. Now count all the things which is there on the salver. On this particular salver is there. On the top of it, salver cloth is there. Next, there is a glass is there, old-fashioned glass is there. That old-fashioned glass is having 30 ml from whiskey. Along with that, you are having stirrer also. Next to the old-fashioned glass, you are having the coaster. You are having the ice. You are having the ice bucket with the ice in it. You are having the ice tong. You are having two decanters. In one decanter, you are carrying the water. In the another decanter, you are carrying the soda. So this is how you can see the view from the top side. Like whenever you are doing the service of the whiskey, these all the things will have to carry on salver. Now we are starting with the service part. As you can see, all the beverage are supposed to be served from the right hand side. So here also, just to see the position of the server, just see where the server is carrying or holding the salver. What is the position of that particular salver? In which particular hand he has been holding? He has been holding the salver on his left palm only. Why? Because he's been trying to keep his right arm free. And see the position of the salver. The position of salver will not be just next to the guest. It will not be beside the guest. It will always be away from the guest. Maybe generally behind the back seat of the guest. Now, first of all, he has to place the coaster. And if that particular coaster is also having the logo of the hotel, then that particular logo of the hotel is supposed to face towards to the guest. And where that particular coaster is supposed to be placed, if you see in the diagram, the coaster is supposed to be placed just next to the water glass. And here we have been using the water glass as a highball glass. So just next to the right hand side of the highball glass or the water glass, the steward is placing the coaster. As you can see the position of the, you can say that the coaster, and on the top of the coaster, the steward is going to place the old-fashioned glass carrying the whiskey and the stirrer. And see how the steward is holding the glass. The steward is holding the glass by using his thumb, by using his middle finger and index finger only. And the steward is holding the glass from its base, which is very, very important. Now the steward is ready to the steward is ready to serve the ice, because generally whenever you serve any alcoholic drinks, first of all you will have to serve the ice. And
Excuse
while
me, sir.
yes,
Sir, your voice is breaking.
okay, fine. So now you can see the steward is serving the ice, right? So whenever the steward is serving the ice has to be served from right hand side. And before actually serving the ice, the steward is going to ask from the guest, sir, how many ice cubes do you want? Likewise, if the guest is saying, okay, serve me 2 ice cubes, then he'll have to start serving the ice. And see, the ice bucket should always be placed on the salver only. The steward will not have to place the ice bucket next to the glass. And by using the ice tong, the steward is going to put the ice. So here you can see in the PPT itself, by using the ice tong, the steward is putting the ice. Now, after the ice, obviously, as it has been demanded by the guest wanted to have the whiskey with soda, water, and ice. Now it is a time to pour the soda, and by using the decanter. While pouring the soda by using the decanter, a very important part is the steward or the server will have to continuously watch on the body language of the guest. And while pouring the soda, the steward will have to, or the server will have to ask from the guest, sir, let me know where I should stop. Otherwise, the drink will become too diluted if the steward will not see to the guest while pouring the soda. Once the soda has been poured, then the next would be the service of the water. Now the water is again being served in the same way, and again after taking the approval from the guest. And while pouring the water also, while mixing or diluting the whiskey with the water also, the steward will have to take the approval of the guest. And he should ask from the guest, sir, kindly let me know when to stop. Now, as you can see, the serviette is there at the center of the cover. So now the steward will have to remove the serviette in order to place the whiskey. And after placing the whiskey, the steward will have to say to the guest, enjoy your Shivas Regal, sir, or enjoy your Johnny Walker, sir, or enjoy your Glenfiddich, sir, likewise. So now, as the service part is over, in this particular part, we have learned two things. That is how to serve the complimentary starters and how to do the service of the whiskey. Now we are talking about the clearance of the whiskey. All the clearance will be done from right hand side only. So as you can see, and see the position of that particular salver where the steward has been placing the salver. Again, it would be behind the guest or maybe away from the guest. And see how come he has been holding the glass. Again, even if the guest has finished the whiskey, still the steward has been holding the glass from its base. So first the glass is removed. Next, the coaster is supposed to be removed. Once the coaster is removed, next the complimentary starter has to be removed. Now the complimentary starter has been removed. So this is all about the service of the whiskey. Now